On this place in history, it's the site of the Great Convention. I'm here with Steve Perkins of the Vermont Historical Society. Steve, what was the Great Convention?
So the Great Convention was actually a series of 100 speeches that took place across the northern United States, anti-slavery speeches, and they featured Frederick Douglass. So a lot of us, we learned about Frederick Douglass in school. He was born a slave in Maryland, escaped, became this great orator. He traveled all over the country speaking about, the horrors of slavery. He spoke here in Vermont.
Yeah. So what was it like here?
So Vermont had a really strong anti-slavery society and headed by Roland Robinson, who was a wealthy landowner here in Ferrisburgh, and I think in the future we'll go visit his house too. But he sponsored Frederick Douglass to come. He spoke in two spots. He spoke in Middlebury and he spoke here in Ferrisburgh, and they couldn't have been any more different. In Middlebury, where he spoke first, he was jeered, he was heckled. Middlebury college students came out and they pamphleted the city, saying, what is this guy talking about? And it really, when you think about Vermont, you think this is not a slave state. Everybody should support abolition. Right. That wasn't so with what happened in Middlebury. Very different here in Ferrisburgh. He was welcomed, huge crowds, and his speech was very well received.
And so what do you have here?
What I brought with me, this is just one of many, many abolitionist tracts. And so tracts, fancy word for a pamphlet. So this is an address that was delivered at the Congregational Church in Middlebury in 1835. So a few years prior to when Frederick Douglass was here. But these are great little books. You can see them at the Vermont Historical Society, and you can read exactly what these orators said. And when we think about 19th century speeches, you or I are going to go to a graduation speech. Someone's going to talk for like 15 minutes, and we're going to be done. These guys spoke for hours. And this was entertainment. No microphones or anything. They'd stand in a tent, and they would just hold that audience enthralled. So this whole book that I have in my hand is one speech that was given in Middlebury. Of course, Frederick Douglass did the same here. Really important to be here in Vermont. And of course, 20 years later, Civil War, end of slavery.
And the Great Convention at this place in history more than 150 years ago.